Hi everyone, I'm back on my channel. Yesterday I made 2 videos. If you haven't seen part 3 yet, I would advise you to watch part 3 because it's out now. I made it yesterday. It was when I talked about George III, who was king from 1760 until 1820 for 59 years. And then I made an edit video using the editing app called CapCut. It got copyrighted because I don't know why. For reasons, the music is copyrighted, and I don't know why. I used it from TikTok. You can use, you have to make an account on that app. You can link it to your TikTok account, which I have already. I've linked it to my TikTok account. Let's get started. My top 20 favorite British monarchs. Part 4, George I, King of Great Britain and Ireland. Yes, guys, we're now finally doing part 4. This is George I of Great Britain and Ireland. Yes, the unification of Great Britain and England and Scotland in 1707 during Anne's reign. His second cousin, basically. Now, technically, George I cannot speak English at all. He did learn a bit when he was in Britain, but then he went back to Hanover, so now he doesn't know how to speak English, which, I have no clue why. I don't know. Like, George, dude, why are you going back to Hanover? He probably prefers Hanover more than Britain. That's mean. I mean, that's not mean. That's not mean, but yeah. And George I is my favorite British monarch because I like how he speaks German, but he's actually very hated by the people because he's hated for being too German. He's 100% German. He cannot speak English at all, unfortunately. But when he went to Great Britain, he started to learn about, he started to do English, to speak English, but he refused to learn how to speak English, that language. All he knew, he can read, write, and actually from that language as well, but he refused to speak that language, which I don't know why. So, let's read it. George I of Great Britain. George Louis, and the German name George Ludwig, was born on the 28th of May, 1660, until his death on the 11th of June, 1727, was King of Great Britain and Ireland from the 1st of August, 1714, and ruler of the Electorate of Hanover within the Holy Roman Empire from the 23rd of January, 1698, until his death in 1727. He was the first British monarch of the House of Hanover. And by the way, guys, he has a cousin, his second cousin. I think he has 2. The first one was Mary, and I think the second one is Anne. I don't know, because his cousin Anne died in 1714. And this portrait is a portrait from the studio of Geoffrey Cannell in 1714. What? A portrait from studio of Godfrey Cannella. What? What? I'm sorry. What? He's King of Great Britain and Ireland. He reigned from the 1st of August, 1714, until his death on the 11th of June, 1727. His coronation was on the 20th of October, 1714. His predecessor is his second cousin, Queen Anne, who died in August 1714, and his successor was his son, George II, after his death, technically. Elector of Hanover, he reigned from the 23rd of January, 1698, until the 17th of June, 1727. His predecessor was his father, Ernest Augustus, and his successor is also his son, George II. He was born, why I say the 28th says the 7th of June? Wait. Some of this is wrong. Don't count the second number, just count the first number. He was born, on the 28th of May, 1660, in Hanover, Brunswick, Ludwig, Luneburg, Holy Roman Empire, and died on the 11th of June, 1727, at the age of 67, in Swan-Odweg der Omsburg, Holy Roman Empire. I keep saying it wrong. What is wrong with me? Oh, I keep saying it wrong. And by the way, his cause of death was he died of a stroke. He was buried on the 4th of August, 1727, in Luneburg Palace, Hanover. Later, he's the last British king to be buried outside of England. He was buried in Hanover. His wife is Sophia Dorothea Sidel. They were married in 1682, but they were divorced in 1694. And here is his children. His son, George II, King of Great Britain, Sophia Dorothea, Queen in Prussia, Macedonia, Countess of Washingham, illegitimate. ILL. Wait, what? ILL? What's that? The names were George Louis. For German is George Ludwig. His house is Hanover. His father was Ernst Augustus, Elector of Hanover, and his mother was Sophia of the Plantagenets. And by the way, guys, his mother died 2 months before his cousin died, Queen Anne. Oh, God. Okay. Born in Hanover to Ernst Augustus and Sophia of Hanover, George inherited the titles and lands of the Duchy of Brunswick-Luneburg from his father and uncles. What? He had uncles? What the hell? He has uncles? In 1682, he married his cousin, Sophia Oh, he had 2 cousins. No, his first one was Sophia Dorothea. His cousin, Sophia Dorothea Ursel, with whom he had 2 children. He also had 3 daughters with his mistress, Marceline von de Schuntenberg. George and Sophia Dorothea divorced in 1694. A succession of European was expanded George's German dominance during his lifetime. He was ratified as Prince Elector of Hanover in 1708. As the senior Protestant descent of James the Sixth and First, George's great-grandfather. What? He had a grandfather. His great-grandfather, James the First of England, was George's great-grandfather. Oh, nah, bro. His great-grandfather. That's crazy. He inherited the British throne following the deaths in 1714 of his mother, Sophia, and his second cousin, Anne, Queen of Great Britain. Jacobites attempted, but failed, to depose George and replace him with James Francis Edward Stuart, Anne's Catholic half-brother. It's also James II's son, by the way, who he lost the throne in 1689 to his daughter Mary and her husband William. During George's reign, the powers of the monarchy diminished, and Britain began a transition to the modern system of cabinet government led by a prime minister. Towards the end of his reign, actual political power was held by Robert Walpole, now recognized as Britain's first de facto prime minister. George died of a stroke on a trip to his native Hanover, where he was buried. He is the most recent British monarch to be buried outside the United Kingdom, which was later discovered in 1927, by the way. Yeah, I don't know why. This is a bit stupid for me to say this, but obviously, because since George I was the first king to be Great Britain from Hanover, and by the way, guys, Hanover is a city in Germany, but obviously I watched this video on YouTube about George IV, and it had this question, who in the world are you? And then this guy was asking him about if he was king or not, but George IV was actually king, And he mentioned his father, George III, was king. His great-grandfather, George II, also George III's great-grandfather. And his father, well, George II's father, George I, he also mentioned him. And he also mentioned that the guy next to him, he mentioned Charles I, and he was about to mention, I think, Henry VIII or something? I'm not sure, but he was like, oh, this is boring, and just throws the paper on the floor. I was like, hey, yo, what the hell? Dude, why? Why would you do that? He doesn't like it because he was boring. And then he went down to St. George's Chapel and he saw all of the people that they were buried. The first one he looked at was Henry VIII. He opened up his tomb. And that guy was about to throw up, and he was a big guy, and he was drunk by measuring him, and he just started laughing. And then he opened up Charles I's tomb. He was executed. Oh, by the way, guys, Charles II was executed in 1649. While his son Charles II was still in. I think he was Prince of Wales, by the way. I'm not too sure, but he was still Prince Regnant. You guys could say that, but. Because obviously, since then, George opened... Oh my god. You better not believe it. George II also opened up Charles I's tomb. And apparently, they reattached his head back onto his body after he was beheaded by the parliament, by the parliamentarians. I think that's it. Oh my god, that was disgusting. Towards the end, his eyes exploded onto him, and he just started throwing up inside of his tomb. That was disgusting. I was so disgusted by that. Literally, his eyes just exploded. That was disgusting. It spat that green stuff onto his face. That was disgusting. Ew, what? Who does that? For George I, what do I rate him? I rate him an 8 out of 10. Well, technically, he does speak German, but he does not know how to speak English at all. And it is kind of true because, fun fact, did you guys know that George I was the only British king from Hanover that didn't know how to speak English at all? Well, technically, and by the way, guys, when he had a son, George II, they didn't really get along with each other because, like I said in part 3 where I did George III, he didn't get along with his son, George IV, and obviously they just argued a lot. I think George IV, he didn't get along with his wife. They divorced after Princess Charlotte, Princess of Wales, was born in 1796. In 1796, but that was 9 months into their wedding night, and they divorced once the baby was actually born that time. And actually, guys, George IV is literally God. I'm not being funny, but he had poor relationships with his father and his mother and also his wife. And in 1817, his daughter, Princess Charlotte, died at the age of 21, giving birth to a son who was actually stillborn. Actually, he was stillborn. She died at the age of 21. And he had a secret relationship in 1785 to one wife. But in 10 years later, he married Queen Caroline. But in the song, I swear, George III is the funniest. He's in a wheelchair because at the start of the video, you would see George IV feeding some bread to the ducks, and the song's called I Couldn't Stand My Wife. It includes George III, his father, who was king for 59 years, but only though George IV was only king for 10 years. That's it. The shortest reigning British monarch out of in the Hanoverians is actually William IV. He was the first one to reign the least. He reigned for 7 years, from 1830 up into his death in 1837, because he succeeded his brother as King William IV. Obviously, he was the third son of George III. and the brother of George IV. And then the second shortest was George IV, who reigned for 10 years from 17... no, I keep saying 17. I don't know what I'm doing. I meant to say 18. 1820, after his father's death, until his death in 1830. He died of an unknown... Well, William IV died at 71. He died of heart failure. George IV died of, at the age of 67, he died of an infection in his intestines. That's disgusting. He died of obesity. And then the third shortest was George I. He only reigned for 13 years, from 1714 until his death in 1727. Obviously, he died at 67, the same age as George IV died. He died of a stroke on the way to Hanover, his current favorite place to go to. That's a bit crazy, right? Kind of crazy. And the second longest monarch in the Hanoverians, actually the third longest, longest Hanoverian monarch is his son, George II. He became king after his father's death in 1727 until his death in 1760. And he died at the age of 76. Oh my god, his cause of death is the funniest. He died on the toilet. It was so funny. Like, I saw this one reply, right? And I was so confused. He died of a really bad condition. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it was a really bad one. It was really funny. The second longest monarch in the Hanoverians was George III. He became king. He was only 22 when he became king. He's like the youngest one out of all of them. Actually, no, Victoria was the youngest one because she was king at 18. And then it goes Victoria, George III, and then it goes... and then it goes George II. I think George I, then George IV, and then William IV. I don't know how it goes because I don't know which one. Oh, the oldest was William because he was king at 64. Dumb nut. He was king at 64 and died at 71 for 7 years. That's crazy, right? I thought he was like 63 and died at 70. No, he was 64. He was 64 when he died. Oh no. I was like, actually, where was I now? George III. Yeah, he reigned for 59 years, from 1760 until his death in 1820. He suffered. He was also known as the Mad King. And yeah, like I said, he had a really bad illness that time because his son, George IV, became Prince Regnant in 1811, like 9 years before his father's death. And the final longest reigning monarch in the Hanoverians is actually Queen Victoria. She reigned longer than George. She reigned for 63 years, from 1837 until her death in 1901. She suffered the same thing as George I did. She suffered a stroke as well. It was a very bad hemorrhage. It's a type of stroke. There's a lot of types of strokes you can get if you actually get a stroke. Maybe not so much, but I'm not being funny. It's just weird. I hope you guys actually enjoyed part 4. Part 5 will come out soon. Oh, quick disclaimer, I'm not sure if I'm going to be posting on Tuesday for part 6. It depends. It will probably be a delay, so I don't know. Make sure you like and subscribe. Part 5 will come out for my next video.